Hi everyone, welcome back to the Cosplay Madness. That is my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make these super easy high heel stretch boot covers. I'm using these for my Sailor Naboo cosplay, but you can use this to make boots for any cosplay. So let's get started. First, get a pair of heels that fit you well. I like these heels a lot and I don't want to use them just for cosplay, so I'll be making my boot covers removable so I can still wear these shoes day to day. Roll out some butcher paper or wrapping paper on the floor and put on your shoes. Then use a marker to trace your leg. Carefully remove your foot from the shoe so you don't move it too much on the paper, and then trace the shoe. I didn't trace the heel because the boot cover is going to stretch over the shoe and leave the heel exposed. I put a zigzag line over where the heel goes to differentiate it from the rest of the pattern. If your shoes don't have high heels, you can just skip this step and sew the whole thing closed. Next, I added a seam allowance around the edge of the shoe. It's about 1/2 inch wide, but I just eyeballed it. It's important to add a lot of seam allowance just in case you need to let out the boots later. Then I added a line at the top of the boot that's higher in the front of the boot and lower in the back to add some interest to the boots. Then I cut out my pattern and pinned it to 4 layers of fabric. I'm using a thick, stretchy knit. This won't work so well with a woven fabric because you won't be able to get your leg into it without adding a zipper. When I was cutting out the boots, I cut some notches where the heel hole is going to be. Next, I took 2 of the boot pieces I cut and laid them on top of each other. I folded up the parts that will be making the hole for the heel and pinned them. Then I took it to my sewing machine and sewed it down using a straight stitch. Next, I pinned the rest of the boots together and stitched them up using a zigzag stitch. Super easy. Before I turned the boot covers inside out, I wanted to make sure that they fit over the shoes. So I worked the shoe inside of the boot cover, which is a little tricky because of the heel, and then pinned where I needed to get rid of any extra space on the toe. Then I tried on the boots to make sure they fit my leg. Any spots that were too big, I just pinned in to mark where I needed to sew them tighter. After I was happy with the fit, I used my rotary cutter to trim the excess seam allowance so it wouldn't look too bulky on my legs. Now to add some decoration to the boots and to help them stay up on my legs, I'm going to add some gold trim at the top. I measured around the top of the boots to know how wide I would need to make the gold pattern pieces. I cut out 2 rectangles that were 15 inches wide and 2.5 inches tall. I'm using this matte gold spandex from Yaya Han. Then I folded the rectangles in half and used some sewing clips instead of pins because pins leave visible holes in this fabric. Then I wrapped the gold rectangle around the boot covers and marked where the edge of the boot cover was on the gold material. Then I moved that mark in just a little so the top of the boots will be tighter and stay up on my legs better. Next, I used a zigzag stitch to sew it down. I trimmed the excess material, lined up the seams, and then pinned the gold loop to the top of the boots. I needed to stretch the gold spandex a little so I could sew it evenly all the way around. Then I stitched it down at 5/8 of an inch seam allowance using a zigzag stitch. I wore my boots for a while and was worried that they would get really dirty and wear out, so I took some Gorilla Tape and laid 2 strips of it down on the sole of my boot. Then I took some scissors and trimmed all of the excess. Then I shot my heat gun at it for a few seconds just to bond the tape to the fabric, and after that, you're done. I hope this tutorial was helpful, and if you'd like to check out the playlist of Sailor Scout tutorials, I'll link it in the description down below. To look at photo shoot and progress photos, you can follow me on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, Snapchat, and Facebook. Those will also be linked in the description. Thank you so much for watching, good luck on all of your cosplay adventures, and I'll see you next time. Bye!